Hello, my name is Wayne Ergel. Welcome to this video on our end-to-end content system for AI search called Echo. And when I say our, I mean the one that's being developed for our WotAI community. I did an intro and an overview video. If you haven't seen that, I'm going to link it here in this video, but I will go through very quickly a short introduction and a short overview of how it works. So here it is, Echo. It's a content system for the AI search era. I know you know search is changing. We're seeing results now. Google obviously is doing the AI overviews. ChatGPT has a search, Claude has search, Perplexity has for quite some time. All of them are creeping into Google's territory and in my opinion providing some results that I think are better, especially Perplexity. But what we need is a system to get content showing up in those AI search engines, and that's what Echo is all about. It's a complete n8n workflow system that automates the entire process. We start off with DNA analysis, and we're going to talk in detail about the brand DNA in this video. We also have an audience and competitive DNA analysis. What this is giving us is a deep audience understanding, unlike what I think we've had in the past, and this really lets you know what drives decisions and what kind of content to create. And then creating that content at scale. So you may find you have an audience type that's pretty nichey and you could create a whole series of videos for them. And you weren't able to do that so easily in the past, but now we have the video tools that can do that and obviously AI writing that can do it. And then the next thing is it's optimized, the content is for AI discovery. So that's a quick introduction, and then here's a quick overview of the process. First step is discover, and that's again what we're going to talk about here with the brand DNA. So we're discovering stuff, whether it's brand, audience, competitor. Then we're developing strategies. Those strategies are then going to form the basis for us to create content. And that's not just written content, it's content for all platforms. It's video, it's social media, it's all of it, because can you really just put stuff on a website these days? I don't think so. And then, yeah, that's what I'm talking about here, is distribute it. So we've got discover, strategize, create, and distribute. 4 steps in Echo. Built on n8n, nocoDB is our backend database, and of course we have bunches of AI agents doing AI agent stuff. So that's a quick overview of Echo. Now I'm going to get into what this video is about, and that's the brand DNA. So I'm just going to quickly get to this because I have an example report. We have an opportunity we've not had in the past. AI gives us this to really dig into what our brand is about and to find hidden value. I think in general, as a company, we think we know what our values are, but do we always know? And maybe we do, but maybe we don't. And maybe there's some hidden value that you could work to develop and provide better service, provide better products. So with our brand DNA, these are one of the things you're able to do. Find your strengths, shine a spotlight on them, but also what are you doing that's good that you don't know about? There's probably something. And what are you doing that's not so good? So our brand DNA report is intended to find your strength, uncover hidden value, bridge gaps between your messaging and the real world impact. Maybe you think you're delivering your message and maybe it's not being received that way. So you want to know these things, and that's what the report does. And it gives you insights, not assumptions, and you can turn those into meaningful results. So very quickly, I'm going to go through Rogue Fitness brand DNA report. I have to tell you a quick story here. If you don't know, I'm a weightlifter. I've been doing that since I was a teenager, so you may guess that's a long time. Rogue Fitness is a supplier of workout equipment primarily, or at least used to be primarily, to CrossFit gyms. CrossFit needs all kinds of equipment, strength equipment, functional fitness equipment, and they're the main supplier of it. So I have a connection to them because I do CrossFit, and it was easy for me to say, okay, I'm going to run a brand DNA report on them. So I'm going to run through what the report has. I'm not going to go into too much detail. Just point out some of the aha moments, and then you can see it yourself if you join our community and get the workflow. So of course it starts off, and let me back up. This is a pasted in version of it. when you paste stuff into ClickUp, which is what I'm using here, it makes that word that size, and if you try to change it, it changes the entire document. So that would be a heading in an actual document. Anyway, so here's our executive summary. You can read through that. And then here's, the continuation of the summary, telling us what the report does. It's decoding Rogue's unreplicable strategic genetics, exposing transformative insight. I may have to make my prompt speak in a little more straightforward language, but what we see here is some of the things that you would see in a normal DNA or brand DNA type report. You've got the mission statement, so our workflow goes and finds, if it can, the mission statement, and it uses that, or the user could input it. If the workflow can't find it, and if the user did not input it, it will write one. And it may be overstepping the bounds a little bit, but I think if you're working with a company and they don't have a mission statement and you give them a pretty good one, I think that's actually bringing value to that customer. So that is one of the things the workflow does. So the same thing for vision, core values. And now I think we're getting into some more interesting stuff, the brand personality profile. Here's the things that make up Rogue Fitness: trustworthy, empowering, customer focused, American spirited. I will find their tagline here in a moment, but they're sort of not rebels, but rogue. That's their name, right? So I think they do try to create that in their brand, and I would say they live it. So here's one of the better things that I think we've done here with this is hidden value proposition. So what are some stuff that that Rogue may not know that would be helpful to them in determining the value they bring to customers, which I think is what this is really all about. So we get that in hidden value propositions. And then strategic blind spots as opportunities. This one I think is my favorite thing. It's what is not happening at Rogue that could be. And I love this one. Digital fitness integration. Rogue has relationships with some of the premier strength and fitness athletes in the world. They know about training. They know about coaching. They know about performance analytics. They know about this stuff. They could create an app, a platform to bring that to their customer base. I mean, would I sign up for a Rogue powerlifting program that I know is developed in conjunction with all of their premier athletes? Yeah, actually I would. I wish they'd do that. So this is one of the things that the brand DNA report has given us is strategic things you're not doing, so blind spots that are opportunities. So, and I'll let you read through those other ones as well. So what have we got here? Unconscious brand strengths, more stuff that maybe they don't think about that they could use to make a better connection with their customer. Authentic differentiation factors, cultural leading, cultural positioning. So we're looking at a lot of stuff here, not just the red and blue colors of their website. So a lot of stuff. Brand reality score is an attempt to say, okay, here's what you say and here's what you do. How well do they match up? And Rogue, 9 out of 10, so pretty good. What's your competitive look like? And here's one that I think is real interesting, the manufacturing sovereignty. So they primarily manufacture their own equipment. And that, of course, gives them the ability to create new products and manufacture them presumably pretty quickly. So that's a competitive advantage they have over companies that are just sourcing it from, say, China or somewhere. So another feature of the brand DNA report is the competitive analysis. Another part of it, voice and tone that we're talking about. These are could be used in the creation of content. Here's how you would, the tone of voice and the characteristics that you would use. Brand guidelines, do's and don'ts. Some brands are going to have these, others don't. And again, for companies that don't, you're bringing that value to them of creating these for them. Now, will they say, yeah, that's right, or no, it's wrong? Probably. But at least you've given them something to think about and a place to work from. And I think that's hugely important, especially if they didn't have them. Strategic action framework. they could create a great digital platform. So something that maybe they haven't thought of. Maybe I should send this to them and let them know about it. We'll see about that. Anyway, so here's some more stuff: transformation pathways, competitive advantage development, and then a conclusion. So that's what the report looks like. Those are the kinds of things that you're getting out of it. And keep in mind, the brand DNA is just one of the DNA reports. We have brand, audience, and competitive, and those three form together to really give you some tremendous insights. Okay, so that is where we are with the report and what you get with it. I'm going to jump into the workflow now. So here's the workflow. I want you to understand, or I want to explain that this, while it looks like a big monolithic workflow, it's actually a bunch of modules, or it will be. Right now we have the brand DNA module, which is here. We're going to have the audience DNA module, which is actually, we have it there. There'll be a competitor DNA. There'll be tech audit, which is actually part of it's here already. And then a whole bunch more modules. It's easier as we're running this or building it to do it all in one n8n canvas. We may leave it that way, or we may break it up. We'll see how it works best for people to use it. Right now, it's all in one, or at least the parts that we have. So the way it works is we've got a trigger here that's triggered from nocoDB. We're using that as, I'm air quoting, our user interface. It has checkboxes and buttons and stuff that we can use to trigger, and that's how we're interacting between nocoDB and the user and the n8n. So what we're looking at here is that we have a checkbox in nocoDB. When it's checked, I'll show you in just a minute, it routes to the appropriate module. So if it's a brand check, then it goes to the brand workflow. If it's audience, it goes to audience. And I'm going to move this here so we can see the brand DNA workflow, and I will show you the brand DNA table. So here's SEMrush. It's in the brand DNA table. The brand name was brought over, the domain name, and then the unique ID that we've created. But you can see there's no fields here, and the status is waiting, so it's not running. It hasn't run. In order to run the workflow, I'm going to check this Run Brand DNA checkbox. First, though, because this is not active, I'm going to make this a little smaller. I'm going to tell it to wait, or to run effectively, so it's waiting for an input to hit it from our brand DNA table. So here we go. It's now waiting. I'm going to go to my brand DNA. I'm going to check this box, and that should have triggered the workflow, and it did. So you can see it if you look quickly. It's running through its thing. I'm going to talk through this and tell you what we've done here to give you an idea of how this workflow works. Throughout these workflows, we have a lot of setting nodes. They're always at the front, and these are sort of what we think of as best practices. So we put those setting nodes there at the beginning so that the settings can be used later in the workflow. And part of those type of settings for us are the field ID. Each one of the columns in a nocoDB table has a field ID, and that lets you use the field ID to send content to that field later in the workflow, as opposed to using the name. And the reason you'd want to do that is, what if you change the name? If you change the name, now your workflow is messed up and you've got to go change the name throughout. But if you use the field ID, and I'll show you one, here's the brand DNA report, there's the field ID. So we'll copy that field ID and put it into these fields. So each one of the fields that are in the brand DNA table have a field ID, and I have put them all here. Now you can imagine that is a pain. It is a pain. But luckily for you, and less so for me, is we're creating and almost finished with a workflow that will allow you to input some data, brand name, URL, that kind of stuff, and it'll create the nocoDB instance for you. So it'll create the base, it'll create the tables, it'll do all the field name assignments, all of that stuff. It'll do it. So you won't have to do all the crap that I had to do. But anyway, this is the first part of the workflow. We're setting fields. Then we're checking to see if in the brand DNA table, I've talked about this a little bit, if we have information already. Did someone go into SEMrush and type in the mission statement? Did they put in the vision statement? Did they put in the core values? If they did, we don't want to overwrite them. We want to use them. And that is what this node is doing. It's checking to see if there are any values there. And as you can see, there's not. And because there weren't. There was no mission statement, there was no vision statement, there was none of this stuff. If we had put it there, it would show it and it would use it. Hopefully that makes sense. The next thing is about patterns. And I'm going to back up just a minute and tell you about how I went about trying to figure out what pages of the website would work to give you a brand DNA report. Homepage, obviously, almost obviously, because not all homepages have a lot of information. A lot of e-com sites don't have any information on their website or on their homepage. They just have products because it's an e-com site. And you have to go into the footer or into weird areas to find the about page and to find your missions page and to find, who are we sort of stuff. But homepage is definitely the first thing that we get. We do ask that, or do require that is input. I had previously put together a workflow that looked for all kinds of pages. It looked for mission, it looked for values, it looked for core values, it looked for vision. And what I found is most sites don't have that. They may have it on a page, but you wouldn't know which page it was. So I've settled on home page and about page, and then a search later in the workflow. So that's what we're looking for. We got home page, which is input, about page, which you would hope that all companies said company name / about, but they don't. They say company name / about us, company name / about -us, company name / company, even though they mean about. So this node has 16 URL patterns for about pages, and it takes the company name. So it takes the main domain, in this case, as you can see here, it's semrush.com, and adds about to it. And then there's 15 more of this. So down here I go and I find the next one, semrush.com about.html. Okay, so we've got 16 different patterns. You could add more if you find this doesn't catch all of them, but in general it seems to catch them. So if a company has an about page, it's generally one of these patterns. And what we're doing here in this loop is seeing if we got it right. So the URLs are input here, about.html, about us. You can see all of these. And it runs through the loop and it does an HTTP request. And that request goes and it's looking for a status code of 200. If we get a 200 reply that it's okay, then we know that we got the right URL for the about page. And we have this if node that if the status code is equal to 200, we exit the loop and move on with the workflow. We know we got the about URL. Yay us. If it goes through the loop all 16 times and finds that if we didn't get it, then we exit the loop here after completing the loop, and we say about not found. So either way, we either find it or we don't. In this case, we know that we have it. We have a true here. It identified the URL. We merged that with the main domain. So see here we're saying about page is true. What is the URL? That's it. And then we know the homepage URL is semrush.com. And we need that for the next step, which is here, where we've used Firecrawl. So if you're familiar with Firecrawl, or if you're not, you can check them out. We use Firecrawl to scrape that page to get the content. We found Firecrawl is really pretty good at this. It's reasonably priced. We're not using a ton of scraping. We're not scraping an entire site. We're just scraping the content for the home page and the about page. We scrape the data, for the main domain. So I'm doing two scrapes here. One, scraping main domain. We always scrape it because we always have the main domain. When we scrape it, there's a lot of mess in here, a lot of gunk, as I might call it, just all kinds of stuff. You really got to dig through to try to find the actual content, all kinds of logos and SVG files and links to this and that. So we have this code node that cleans that, gets rid of it, and now we're left with the main content of that site. So we're going to use that main content of the main domain. We're going to use that in our brand DNA writer to write the brand DNA. Now, the other thing that I'm doing here is if we found an about page, we have a code node that says, you know, if the about page is found is equal to true, so we had set that earlier, then we're going to send it over here and scrape that with Firecrawl. So we'll just back this up a little bit. Here we've gone through this loop looking at 16 different potential about page URLs. If it finds one, which in this case it did, it's going through this part of the workflow. We're scraping the main domain here, cleaning it up, and then here we're scraping the about page. If we don't get a about page URL, then that's false. So our input to this if statement would be false, and it would route that to this direction and would let us know that we don't have about page URL content. But we take care of that, so keep in mind again, we have home page always, main domain, about page almost all the time, but we also do a brand search. So we have an AI agent here. It's got a Perplexity tool that does the search. And what I found actually is, even with my most sincere intentions of finding all the pages that had all this information for a brand DNA report for a brand, doing a brand search almost gives you the exact same results. So I don't want to discount the fact they have a home page and I want to use everything that they have on it. I don't want to discount that they have an about page and I want to use everything on it. But this brand search really does augment and actually could almost replace the actual website pages. So if you come and join the community, you can take a look at this and see the prompts, but here they are real quick. And I won't get into them here, but basically we're saying, Perplexity, go do a search and bring back information that would be related to branding. Okay, so now we take all of our stuff and put it into a research package. So we've got brand search results, which are here. So this is the result from Perplexity, and you can see, you know, it wrote a bunch of stuff. We have the brand info, we have the user input, so that was whether someone put in the mission statement, vision statement, core values, all of that. We have the main domain content, we have the about content, the original data, all of that is put into our brand DNA insights generator, and it generates the insights. So let's see what the outputs are. This is where it's generating the fields. So I've generated the mission statement, the vision statement, the core values, tagline, brand story. Again, if these had been entered, they would be whatever had been entered. The voice, tone, brand personality. One of the questions we're asking is, does the mission, voice, value, and audience align with what they say they do? And in this case, there was nothing input, so it couldn't be out of alignment. And then insights, hidden value propositions, blind spots. We saw that when I showed you the example report. Okay, so again, let's recap this. We've got the home page content, about page content if we can get it. We've got the brand search content. We're going to take all of that, clean it up, and we're going to put it into this brand insights generator, and it's going to generate all of those fields. And as a reminder, it's these fields. It's all of these things. Brand do, brand don't, all of it. Okay? So That is sent to the brand DNA table. Then we have one more node or one more AI agent that takes all of that data and writes the actual report. And I did it that way because, again, I think the fields are valuable in just as they are. You know, what's the tone, what's the voice, what's the mission, what's the hidden value, and all of that. But then no one wants to just look at a bunch of fields. We need a well-formatted document for a human to read. And I even thought the other day we could take this document and send it to HeyGen and have a video made for it. But that's another day. But anyway, this brand DNA report writer takes in all of the stuff, the mission statement, the vision, the core values, all of these things that I keep saying over and over, and then it writes a report. And that is the report that I showed you in ClickUp. Now that report actually was for Rogue Fitness. This report is for SEMrush. If I go take a look here, scroll back over, we've got SEMrush. One thing about nocoDB, it does not update automatically, and I found the best way to update instead of refreshing is just to go from one table to another. So go from the table you're in to another and come back to the one you want to be in. And now we see that the SEMrush stuff is complete. We have a brand DNA report. We have all the fields filled in. Here's what the brand DNA report looks like. We have the executive summary, core elements, framework, personality, hidden value, all of the stuff that I showed you in the Rogue Fitness report. And one of the interesting things that we've seen so far, and this was an intentional thing here, was to make it work for all kinds of sites. Now, the prompting for that makes you be sort of general. You might want to adjust these prompts to be more specific. But for example, there's a company called Castle Rock Bike and Ski Shop. They sell bikes and skis, and there's a brand DNA report for them. And if you ask me, it's just as good. So, you know, it starts off, they're not simply a local gear provider. It is the living heartbeat of Castle Rock's outdoor culture. So, I mean, you know, we're down to a local store that sells skis and bikes. Gibson guitars, I play guitars too. Rogue Fitness, I've already talked about them. Now Foods, Metallica, I play heavy metal guitar. The reports seem to be really good for every brand we've tested. I'm sure that we do need more testing, and we'll adjust the prompts as needed. But so far, it's been really, really good output. Okay, so that got us through the whole workflow. Got everything put into nocoDB. I will, as I said, run through this in more detail. We're going to have a setup video that shows how to use this amazing workflow. I'm not doing it. I wish I was, but one of our members, Jason Guest from Australia, is doing it for us. And it's going to do a lot of stuff. It's going to do the setup of nocoDB, as I've already mentioned. It's also going to pull in, or at least potentially we're looking at, pulling in the workflows from our instance in n8n and automatically populating them in yours, which the setup of this thing could be just a few clicks, type in a name or two, a domain name and that sort of stuff, which is incredible to me as I've lived through trying to copy and paste and stuff like that. So anyway, that's where we are with the workflow. I hope that made sense. I'm going to end this now with a couple of just final sort of statements. And the way I look at the brand DNA, it's the first report that we've done for the DNA series. It makes sense to me. You do the brand first, then the audience, then competitive. Maybe you switch those around, but can't go too far without the brand. So it's the foundation for everything. And it comes first because without that intelligence, we're basing our strategy on assumptions. We're messaging misses real motivations. I think there are companies out there, even pretty successful, you know, $400, $500 million companies that have messaging, they have visions, they have mission, they have core values, they think they know their customer. But if they were to take a step back, do they really? And maybe they do, and maybe they're all good, but maybe they don't, and maybe they're missing huge opportunities for product development and for connecting with their customers, most importantly for our case, in ways their customers want them, but that company's not doing it. So I just think this brand DNA is huge. It's right at the beginning, and it's the catalyst for the rest of the workflows. So with the Echo brand DNA, we get these data-driven audience insights, motivation connections, and genuine differentiation that I think brands may not have thought of. And then finally, I want to say, how do you get the workflow? That is very simple. You join the WotAI.co community. We have a great community that has members that are from agencies, SEO agencies, digital marketing agencies, lots of entrepreneurs and individuals. And what we're all trying to do is build workflows that bring value to customers, to bring values to the audience. There's of course, how do we make money doing this? But it's also, how do we build good stuff? So join the community. You'll get the complete brand DNA workflow. You get the whole workflow. You get Echo, which has all of the DNA stuff. It has AI optimized content and publishing. Now, it's not all there yet. We're working on it. You'll see it as you come into the community. You'll see as we release the different modules. Also, as I said, we have other workflows. Those are provided to the community. Collaborative builds, which is what Echo started as and really has taken over quite a bit, actually all my time. You have direct access. I haven't mentioned this, but Alex Kim is an n8n ambassador. They do not bestow that on everyone, so he really knows his stuff. He was a developer, knows Python and all of that. So you get access to him and me if you would like. We have 4 calls a week that you can get access to, or individual messaging and that kind of thing. And then what we try to do, as I said, is develop and create and build real business tools. So thank you so much for watching. I know this was a lot. Again, we're going to have more videos coming. Please reach out to me if you have any questions. I would love to see you join the community. And also, I'm a YouTuber, can't help but say it. Please like, subscribe, and comment on this video. Thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.